5 friends plan their first reunion in over a year. 4 of them go into a movie together. The 5th waits outside for 30 minutes. Alone. She sends message after message. No one checks their phone. When they finally see her texts hours later, she's already gone. Now she's saying, the friendship is over. Was it really just about a phone? This is a story about missed messages and missed connections. About whether staying present in the moment means you can ignore the people who aren't there yet. At the center of it is a group of college friends who finally found time to hang out after more than a year apart. They'd all been busy with work, relationships, and life. This was supposed to be the reunion that brought them back together. Instead, it became the moment that might have ended the friendship for good. The question isn't just about who was wrong, it's about what we owe the people we care about when plans go sideways. The narrator is 28 years old. She's part of a tight group of 5 friends, all the same age. They met in college and stayed close for years after graduation. But over the past year, everyone's schedules got packed. Jobs became more demanding. Romantic relationships took up more time. The group chat stayed active, but actual hangouts became rare. Finally, after weeks of coordinating, they found a date that worked for everyone. The plan was simple. Meet at an indie cinema for a movie marathon. It was a screening of a film series they'd watched together back in college. Something nostalgic, something meaningful. Right next to the cinema was a cafe they used to frequent constantly during their college days. It was practically their second home. The narrator sent a message to the group chat. She suggested they meet at the cinema early to grab good seats. In her mind, this was clear enough. Everyone had been to that cinema before. Everyone knew the cafe was right there. She assumed the routine was understood. On the day of the meetup, 2 friends arrived at the same time. They decided to stop by the cafe first for coffee before heading into the theater. A 3rd friend joined them shortly after. The 3 of them sat down, ordered drinks, and started catching up. It felt good, natural, like slipping back into an old rhythm. Time passed quickly. Before they knew it, the movie was about to start. The 3 of them left the cafe and walked next door to the cinema. They bought tickets, found their seats. The lights dimmed and the marathon began. None of them checked their phones. They were present, engaged, enjoying the moment. Hours later, when the marathon ended and they stepped outside, the narrator finally pulled out her phone. That's when she saw it. A flood of messages from the 5th friend, the one who hadn't shown up. The messages had started before the movie. The friend said she was running late and asked where everyone was. Then more messages came in. She was at the cafe but couldn't find them. Then frustration set in as she wondered if plans had changed. Then confusion about whether they'd already gone inside. Then anger about having waited for over 30 minutes. Finally, a message saying she was leaving and that this situation was unacceptable. The narrator immediately felt bad. She tried calling but got no answer. She sent an apology explaining what had happened. They'd been at the cafe, then went straight into the movie without checking their phones. The friend responded, but she wasn't understanding. She was furious. She'd driven an hour to get there. She'd waited at the cafe for over 30 minutes, kept checking her phone, looking around, feeling embarrassed. And no one had thought to check if she was there. The narrator tried to explain it was an honest mistake. But the friend wasn't accepting that explanation. Here's where things got complicated. The friend argued that when you make plans with a group, you check your phone before committing to hours of unavailability, especially when someone indicates they're running late. The narrator countered that everyone knew the plan, the cinema, the time, the meeting spot. If someone's running late, they're responsible for catching up. The friend pushed back with a different perspective. They'd gone into a movie without even confirming everyone had arrived. The narrator pointed out that the friend could have called instead of just texting. If it was urgent, a phone call would have been noticed. The friend felt she shouldn't have needed to escalate to calling. Texting is the normal mode of communication. They should have checked their messages before disappearing. And there it was. two completely different understandings of responsibility. The friend believed that coordinating a group hangout meant ensuring everyone was accounted for before committing to something that would cut off all communication. The narrator believed that clear plans meant people were responsible for showing up on time. If someone was late, they'd figure it out on their own. Both perspectives made sense in isolation, but they completely missed each other's point. The other three friends got pulled into the conflict. Two of them sided with the narrator. They agreed it was an honest mistake and felt the missing friend was overreacting. One of them sided with the friend who'd been left out. She felt it was basic courtesy to check your phone before going into a movie, especially when the entire purpose was a group hangout. The missing friend made a declaration. She wasn't planning to attend future group hangouts. If this was how the group operated, she was done. The narrator felt this reaction was extreme. Mistakes happen, and holding such a strong grudge seemed disproportionate. The friend clarified that her issue wasn't really about the missed messages. It was about feeling forgotten, about being told her lateness was her own problem when really the group simply hadn't cared enough to check on her. The narrator insisted that characterization wasn't accurate. They did care, they just weren't constantly monitoring their phones. The friend said that was exactly the problem. When coordinating with people, some level of checking in is necessary. The narrator disagreed fundamentally. She felt people have become too dependent on constant phone connectivity. The group had been living in the moment and enjoying each other's company rather than staring at screens. The friend acknowledged that philosophy, but argued it becomes impractical when someone is physically waiting for you in real life. Days passed with minimal communication. The friend stopped responding to the group chat. The narrator reached out privately, offering to meet up and make things right. The friend declined, saying she needed space. She felt genuinely disrespected by what had happened. The narrator grew increasingly frustrated. She'd apologized multiple times. She'd explained the misunderstanding. What more could reasonably be expected? The other friends advised giving her time to cool off. But the narrator couldn't shake the feeling that this was being blown completely out of proportion. Yes, they'd missed the messages. Yes, the friend had an unpleasant experience. But it hadn't been intentional, and the ongoing anger seemed excessive. Meanwhile, the friend saw the situation very differently. To her, this incident confirmed something she'd been feeling for a while. She was drifting away from the group. Everyone had moved forward with their lives, and she was just a remnant from their college days. Being forgotten at the one hangout they'd actually managed to plan together, that confirmed everything. She wasn't a priority. She'd never really been one. Eventually, they agreed to meet one-on-one to talk things through. The conversation was uncomfortable and awkward. The friend admitted she might have overreacted somewhat, but she also firmly stood by her feelings about what had happened. Being left waiting had genuinely hurt. The narrator apologized once again and acknowledged she should have been more thoughtful about checking in before the movie. They agreed to try harder going forward with communication and coordination, but something fundamental had shifted in their dynamic. The easy comfort was gone. This incident wasn't really just about a missed text message. It was about what happens when friendships from one phase of life try to survive into the next. College friendships often thrive on constant proximity and spontaneous interaction. You live near each other. You hang out constantly without much planning. But when adult life takes over with demanding jobs, serious relationships, and geographical distance, those friendships require much more intentional effort, more deliberate planning, more conscious checking in, more active maintenance. And when that maintenance doesn't happen consistently, people start to feel left behind and undervalued. The missing friend had been feeling increasingly disconnected for quite some time. The rest of the group hadn't really noticed the growing distance. Or perhaps they had noticed but didn't know how to address it directly. This incident became the flashpoint for all that unspoken tension and unaddressed feelings. It wasn't really about whether they should have checked their phones before the movie. It was fundamentally about whether they still valued her the way they once had, and whether she still fit into the group dynamic the way she used to. The narrator, for her part, hadn't realized just how fragile things had become. She'd assumed the friendship was solid enough to withstand small mistakes and miscommunications. But friendships, like any meaningful relationship, require ongoing maintenance and attention. When you assume everything is fine without actually checking, gaps and resentments form gradually. By the time you notice them, they've often grown quite large. So here's what we're left with. A group of friends who planned a reunion after more than a year apart. One of them got left behind, not through malicious intent, but through a series of small choices and assumptions that accumulated into a significant hurt. No one checked their phone before committing to hours of unavailability. No one confirmed that everyone had actually arrived before going into the theater. And now, a friendship that had survived years of college and the early years of adult life is sitting on shaky ground. The narrator genuinely believes it was an honest mistake that shouldn't define the friendship. The friend believes it revealed something deeper about her place in the group and how much she actually matters to them. The group chat is quieter now. Future plans feel more complicated and fraught. Everyone is being more careful, more formal. It doesn't feel the same anymore. So here are the questions for you to consider. Should they have checked their phones before going into the movie, even though they wanted to be present in the moment? Was it the late friend's responsibility to ensure she connected with the group, perhaps by calling instead of just texting? Is it reasonable to expect constant availability and phone monitoring when coordinating group plans? And when a small mistake reveals a much bigger emotional wound in a friendship, whose responsibility is it to repair that damage? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you think was in the wrong here?